You are watching a master at work.
It really bothers me that whenever I get an email from somebody or people see me out and about, whether it's at a show or a damn grocery store, everybody always says the same thing. Yo, you funny as shit. That's it. That's all that they can say to me. When I first really started to become known, hearing that was cool. It made me feel like, damn, you really like what I do, huh? But after being in this for so long and gaining the type of exposure that I'm gaining so quickly, I keep hearing the same thing from different people. If I'm having a conversation with you and you start telling me how much you like my videos, how funny I am, you start reciting lines from my shit, I seriously zone the fuck out. Everything that you're saying to me is just words now because I heard it all before. And in the back of my mind, I'm just like, damn, somebody else telling me how funny I am. Now, please don't get it twisted. I appreciate all the love and all the support that I've been getting from people. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would have hundreds of thousands of people subscribe to my channel. Millions of views on my videos. That shit still blows my mind. And I'm nobody. I'm nobody at all. But after a while, what I came to realize is even though I don't consider myself to be anybody important, for everybody that watches me, I'm somebody to them. And it's just really disturbing to me that they only know me for one thing, and that's that I'm funny. And the reason that you only know me for this one thing is because I haven't shown you anything else. September 4th, 1986, quite possibly the most important day in U.S. history, because that is the day that I clawed my way up out the pussy. I'm pretty close with my parents. I used to love when they told me about how they first met. I just thought it was incredible how each time I ask, I always get two different versions of the same story. Let my father tell it, it would always be a combination of what he told me the last time plus new shit. My mother is real, blunt and to the point. So every time I asked her about it, she would always take shit out. So now I got her version, then I got his version, but I'm just gonna tell you my version because I think my shit, is more creative. So here's how it went. My father was a DJ, so according to him, he was the baddest motherfucker on the planet.
Hey, y'all know I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet, right? Where the bitches?
My mother comes strolling in the club with her homegirls. Now, according to her, as soon as she walked in the building, all the fellas was like, my father leaves the DJ booth ready to make his move, but to his surprise, she shut niggas down. Unfortunately, she was one of them females that come all the way to the club to dance with her damn friends. So Pop said, shit, if I can't go to her, I'm gonna make her come to me. This is the part of the story that's still hard for me to wrap my head around. My mother said the first time she laid eyes on my father, he was the smoothest nigga she had ever seen on the dance floor. The first time I heard this, I sat there with the most blank expression on my face because I was waiting for her to say psych. It never came. She said Pops was so good that it almost looked like he was floating, literally floating across the dance floor. Walking on water and floating across the floor kind of sound the same to me. How sure are you that this wasn't Jesus you was looking at? Hear me out. Maybe you had too much to drink. You walked over to who you thought you saw, which was Jesus, okay? Because Jesus is the only one floating on anything. But when you got all the way over there, it turned out to just be Pops. You was too tore up to go search the club for the Lord, because remember, that's who you really saw. And you said, well, damn, since I'm already over here, I might as well just kick it with him. And that's how it happened. But she swear up and down she know what she saw. Long story short, they exchanged numbers, hang out a couple times outside of the club, wound up getting into a relationship, and then 9 months later, something real sexy like this happened. The cutest, sexiest, little chunky baby you ever laid eyes on in your life. Most people don't know this, but pimping run in my family. I say at about 3 years old, my pimp hand really started to get strong. That's when I could really feel the pimping running through my blood. As you can see here, I was on the phone with a little honey dip, and I was trying to get her to come over, and I was like, shorty, I got some juice boxes on ice, and I poured the apple juice over top of the ice cubes because she couldn't put the straw in the box. We had a problem with that last time at daycare, so I was gonna hook her up. My mother busted in the room with the camera, taking pictures, and because she thought it was cute. That's why I got that surprised look on my face, because I didn't know. What you can't see off camera was the actual juice boxes sitting on the dresser, and then after the picture, she got mad because she was trying to figure out how I got in the refrigerator in the first place. So yeah, and that was that. The moment you're born, you develop a relationship with your parents. And it's not until you get older do you truly understand what type of relationship you have. Time definitely revealed that to me. My mother and my father ended up separating. They never got married or anything. It just never got that far. I stayed with my mother. I would go to my father's house on weekends. And then from there, it was just like, I don't know, Pops became the typical black father. Empty promises, missed birthdays, wouldn't hear from him, see his face, sometimes for weeks. I remember nights where I fell asleep on my knees with my head like in the windowsill, waiting on him to pick me up. As far as my mother was concerned, everything that he said out of his mouth was a lie. But no matter what, through all of the bullshit, I would still take up for him. Whenever she told me that he wasn't going to come through for me, my favorite line to her would always be, but he said he was going to be there, but he said he was coming, he said he was going to do this, he said he was going to do that. I would hang on to my father's every word because in my eyes, he just couldn't do any wrong, no matter how many times he let me down. My mother used to badmouth him so much that, I don't know, I guess this was my way of just wanting him to prove her wrong so bad. But it was just like 9 times out of 10, she was always right. As time passed, I pretty much accepted the fact that her and my father weren't getting back together. Around the time I turned 8 years old, that's when I met my stepfather. And you know how it is. You meet a girl with a child, and you figure the quickest way to her heart is through her kid. So of course, in the beginning, everything was cool. Eventually, he ended up moving in, and that's when things started to change. You live with a woman and her child long enough, of course, the subject of discipline is bound to come up. And in the beginning, she wouldn't let him touch me. Either she would deal with me, or she would let my father deal with me. So him being fresh out the military, he figured he'd just break me down the best way that he knew how. So at 8 years old, I was like doing push-ups and shit. Push-ups turned into sit-ups. And from there it was jumping jacks to running in place. Pretty much any exercise you can think of, like, I was doing it. And my mother, she knew, she knew what was going on because I told her and she seen it. She still wouldn't do anything to stop it. Mom's first marriage was an extremely abusive one. And sometimes I used to wonder, and even now I still wonder, is that the reason why you never said anything? Did certain moments trigger memories and take you back to the days when that was you on the ground, crying, defenseless, helpless? Were you too afraid to step in because you felt like that was going to be you all over again? I never asked her why. She never said anything, why she never tried to stop it. Even now, I refuse to ask her that question because it's just like, nothing that you tell me would be good enough. Your fear should never cripple you to the point where you don't do anything to help your child. I'm your fucking child. How can you see me in a pool of sweat, tears running down my face because I can't even hold my body weight up anymore? How do you see this and keep walking? Sometimes even step over top of me to walk up the steps and go in your room and shut the door because, I don't know, you couldn't take it. You didn't want to hear me yelling anymore. How do you do that? I hated my mother. I hated you because you wouldn't save me. Every time this nigga threatened to leave, you begged him. You begged him to stay. The day of your wedding, I came to you before you walked down the aisle, and I said, Ma, please, please, do not marry this man. and you looked me in my face and you said, Maurice, this is my day. You will not ruin this for me. The only thing that was keeping me happy back then was the news from my father. He told me that I was going to be a big brother. I was about to have a little sister. After I heard that, I refused to cry. No matter what I went through, no matter what bullshit I was dealing with at home, I refused to cry because I felt like I needed to be strong for me and my little sister. She had to look up to me and she couldn't see me cry. I was big brother. And that's the way that I carried it. July 4th, 1998. It's the day my sister was born. My father called the house, and as soon as I saw his number on the call ID, I already knew what it was. I was hype. I was so hyped, so excited. I pick up the phone, and I'm ready to ask him all these questions, you know. And I'm like, hello? And then it was just silence. So when that happened, I knew something wasn't right. That's when he told me that she didn't make it. It felt like somebody ripped my fucking heart out my chest. I got absolutely no sleep that night. In school the next day, my sister was all that I can think about. The neighborhood that I lived in, my house was like directly across the street from my school. And that day, I swear it must have felt like a mile. I was just so fed up. I just lost the one thing in this world that would have made me happy. At that point, I just really didn't see a reason for me to live anymore. When I walked in the house, I was the only one there. I went upstairs to my mother's room and I reached behind the dresser and I pulled out the shotgun. My stepfather showed me how to use it, how to break it down, clean it, put it back together, load it, everything. I grabbed a shell and I sat on the edge of the bed, put it in the chamber, cocked it, took the safety off, and I put the barrel to my forehead. My arms were too short to reach the trigger, so I took off my shoe and I put my toe on the trigger instead. And then I started crying. And I wasn't crying because of what I was about to do. I was crying because I couldn't figure out a reason not to. I closed my eyes and I pulled the trigger and all I heard was a click. The gun jammed. Sometimes I wonder, why didn't the gun go off? I'd be lying if I sat here and said that I never had a suicidal thought since then. Only thing that stopped me is the love that I have for my family. When a person commits suicide, the family always feels like it was something that they could have done to stop it. I love them too much to ever have them walk around with that type of guilt for the rest of their lives over a choice that I made. You know, I'm not that selfish. I've been holding that story in for 13 years. It feels good to let it out. June of 2004, the year I graduated high school. Being finished with school was like busting that first nut, because that shit felt so good. So with that being said, clearly college wasn't in the nigga game plan. I couldn't wait to get out of regular school. You think I'm gonna go back and pay for it? Shit. I knew too many people that went to college and still ain't shit. I can do that for free. So I made the only logical decision that any 17-year-old would have made. I joined the military. Marine Corps to be exact. That only lasted for about a year and a half. Apparently I don't do too well when it comes to taking orders. I joined for all the wrong reasons anyway. With everything that was going on and everything that I had been through, graduating high school was like that final thing that I had to complete. And after that was over, I really didn't see any need for me to stay in Baltimore anymore. And like I said, college wasn't an option, and I wasn't just going to sit around and be no bum, so I thought the Marine Corps would be the next best thing. Being that young, my heart wasn't in it. When I think back on it, I was really just using the military as a means of escape. I was just ready to get away from people, places, and things. That is definitely not the reason to join the armed forces out this bitch. Oh, you gonna get the fuck away. You can believe that shit. After that was over, it's kind of just like, you know, what now? And that led to dead-end job after dead-end job after dead-end job. I can't even tell you how many places I've worked at in my lifetime. I don't know what it is about me. I just really feel some type of way about working for people. It's not because I'm lazy. That's far from what I am. It's mainly because the shit that you paying me don't equal up to the work you got me doing. My philosophy when it comes to working has always been to do just enough to not get fired. But at the same time, I do just a little bit more than this nigga. That kind of make it look like I'm going above and beyond. If he's sweeping the floor, I might scrub the wall. Ain't nobody doing that. And that's the way you camouflage that shit. And it always works out. The first real job I ever had was working at Pizza Hut. I was there on and off for like 8 years. Around this particular time, my manager had written a stage play. And when the day of the auditions came, I asked if I could go with her. We get down there and it wasn't a big turnout, like at all. Pretty much everybody that auditioned for a role got the part. We had just enough to make the cast. The last person to audition was this girl, and she wanted to play the part of Stephanie. Stephanie was the lead female role. By the time she showed up, everybody else had already left. So she didn't have anybody to read the script with. My manager said, you know, Maurice, can you read the script with her so I can see what she got? I said, all right, cool. After it was over, you know, I'm getting dropped off back home. The whole ride, we just talking about all auditions, and she tells me that I did a real good job, and she thinks I ought to play the part as Tommy. Tommy was the lead male role. And I'm just like, girl, I'm not playing no damn Tommy. I don't have no background in acting. I never done a play before in my life. This was before I even knew that I was funny. Whole ride home, she trying to talk me into it. Last thing she said to me was, what's the worst that can happen? Fuck it. I do it. I do the shit because I'm looking out for you. I know you ain't gonna find nobody else to do it. I'll play motherfucking Tommy. Night of the play came, went up on stage, I did my thing, and I fell in love with acting. Being on stage in front of a couple hundred people, it gave me that feeling like this is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, entertaining. The whole idea of becoming somebody else, not having to be yourself, you draw from your personal experiences, your joys, your pains, your past, your present, and you take those emotions and you use that to bring this character to life. That was the escape that I needed, that getaway that I had been looking for so long, was in acting. That feeling was just amazing to me. I owe so much to Nay. If she would have never talked me in to getting up there and playing Tommy, I would have never known what any of this felt like. I probably wouldn't even started YouTube. Nay, if you're watching, I love you. I'm around my father's house right now. Everybody know the story about the bread, right? So, this is my father's house over here. And this is the street that I had to walk down so I can go get the bread. And right there, on the corner, is the barber shop, right? So I get about right here, and I see the barber shop. That's what my father told me that the dudes were sitting at. And I get about right here. As soon as I get right here, dudes come running out this little ass barber shop. Right here is about where I got hit at. Back is up against this fence right here. And I start making my way back up to the house. I stiff arm a nigga into this bush shit right there. So yeah, this is where I got jumped and shit. Almost. This is where YouTube first started for me in February 2009. This was 4 years after the play. By that time, acting had just become like a thought in the back of my mind. It wasn't that I didn't want to do it anymore. I just really wasn't hungry enough to go out and get it. So working for the motherfucking man took over a nigga life. The day I made my first video, I sat right here on my laptop and I figured out how to work my webcam, just like real randomly. And I said, I'm gonna make a video about me having to go in today on my day off. So I made the video, did the editing. I watched it a few times and I was like, damn, this came out alright. Maybe I ought to put it on YouTube. Around that time, I was still kind of hooked on MySpace a little bit. Don't judge me. And my profile name was iRock. So naturally, I brought that over to YouTube. But I wanted it to be longer. And literally, Hot Damn was the first thing that came to my mind. So it became Hot Damn iRock. Uploaded the video to YouTube and I watched it all night. I swear the first 100 views had to come from me. The more I watched it, I started to have that feeling that I felt the night that I was on stage. And then YouTube became that outlet I needed all over again. The name Kane Carter. One of my favorite movies of all time is Menace to Society. If you haven't seen it, I advise you check it out. Good shit. The main character in the film, his name is Kane. I always thought that'd just be some cold shit. If your name was Kane, that just always sound good to me. So, I jacked that shit. Carter, I don't know. It was just one of those things that sounded good at the end. So, that night, Kane Carter was born. Right in here. This is where all the magic happens. Doing a little bit of remodeling right now, so yeah. That's why the bathroom looks completely different. For everybody that keeps asking me why I do my videos in the bathroom, it's because it's good light in the bathroom, okay? This is the best that I could do. So if you don't like it, buy me a pretty little studio where I can do this shit all day. But if not, then shut the fuck up. My ideas really come from everywhere. Real life situations, stuff that was already on my mind, fan requests, just, anything. Once I pick a topic, I come in here, I stand in front of the mirror, and I talk. Anytime I say some shit that make me laugh, I write it down, and then I record it. That's pretty much it. My confidence level when it came to my videos wasn't always where it is today. I never really told too many people that I knew what I was doing, mainly because I wasn't ready to hear negative feedback. I never promoted my channel. I didn't, brag about it, telling people I'm on YouTube, handing out business cards. Like, I never did any of that. I still don't do any of that. Believe it or not, the popularity and everything that I have now really didn't come until probably like last summer. When I first got my Facebook page, I never posted any of my videos on my page because I didn't know how people that I knew would respond to it, because like I said, nobody knew what I was doing. I just kind of kept it private. One day I logged onto my YouTube page. It asked me if I wanted to link my Facebook to my YouTube, but I didn't know that when you upload a video, it'll automatically post on your Facebook page. I ended up making the video, Give Me the Butt Cheeks, and when I went to sleep, my video only had about 1,000 views. Woke up the next morning, I had 10,000. My initial response to that was, what the fuck? I log onto my Facebook and I'm getting all these notifications, and that's when I realized that YouTube put the video on my wall. Kept getting circulated, and the rest is history. Comedy is it for me. Now that I'm really starting to do this on a more serious level, I'm starting to realize that I really don't have anything else to fall back on. I really feel the pressure to do great things. I got fans that adore me, people that look up to me. I'm trying to keep them happy and at the same time keep myself happy. Sometimes finding that balance is hard. When you're in a position to put smiles on people's faces, you don't want to disappoint. I'm always constantly second guessing myself. And it's moments like that where I really have to revert back to the reason why I started YouTube in the first place. And I started it for me because this was my therapy. This is what I needed to put a smile on my face. And it's just amazing that I touched so many people in the process. No matter how stressful this gets for me, I swear I would not trade this shit for the world.